Good morning. Saturday, the 7th of December. Again, you're with Ian Smith. We're going to look at a video guide on how to force the Lync client to always display a user's photograph. So, just before we start, I'm going to put a couple of caveats and warnings around what we're going to do today. So, first thing is, what we're going to show is absolutely not supported by Microsoft. Also, as well, the other big warning around this is we are actually going to be putting a scheduled task into the backend database within your Standard Edition or Enterprise Edition RTC local. So again, we are tinkering with the brain of the Lync a little bit. Nothing too taxing, but equally it's something you do need to be aware of before you embark down this route. So why are we doing this? This is interesting. So I personally believe this is something Microsoft actually missed from the coding of the product itself. It allows you to, at present, the client allows you to show a picture, hide a picture, and also with the latest October update of Lync 2013 client, it also allows you to publish your picture to a website. What it fails to do is actually revoke the access, so an end user cannot actually select hide their picture. There's no group policy, there's nothing in a client policy in PowerShell to actually stop this. So what we need to do a little bit is improvise and find a solution to this actual issue. So as I say, not supported, tinkering a little bit with the backend database, but it is the only solution, the only way you can actually do it within the Lync client. At the end of this guide, what we will have achieved is setting up a scheduled task to run every 15 minutes to actually put the flag back to show the photograph. So this isn't by any stretch a fully blown solution. What the problem we've got is because the client itself hasn't got a policy associated with it where the user can't select hide the photograph, they can always go back in and reselect to hide it. Equally, what our scheduled task will do is every 15 minutes, it'll go and look at the database, find out who's actually put a hide their photo within the client, and it'll actually re-enable it to actually show their photo. So, like I say, it's not a full solution where you set it once and that's it done. The scheduled task runs every 15 minutes to just go and reset it. So if you have got a problematic user who enjoys or doesn't want to show their photograph, I'm sure after a day or so of every 15 minutes having to reset it, they'll soon get bored of that and leave it to show. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit around what the actual situation is with the client. So let me just jump into my Windows machine. So as you can see, I'm running a Windows 8 machine. This is called _1. The second one over here is called _2. So let's just jump back to _1 and open up the Lync client. Right, okay, so as you can see, I've got my photograph associated with this particular client. If I go to the cog and go to my picture, you can see I've got it set to show my picture and a picture of me. Let me just jump to _2 machine, open up that client and go to the cog here and go to my picture. As you can see, this second client has actually got just a Lync logo as their picture. Equally, they're both friends with each other, both in the buddy list, and as you can see, I can see the picture of my #1 machine and me within that. So let's just do a quick example of what I'm talking about. So if I go back to #1, and I click on hide my picture and OK that, and now jump to #2, the picture has gone. So this is the situation, and like I say, you can't lock this down by any stretch with policy or group policy or PowerShell command policy type stuff. Okay, so just before we start and I start showing you around the script, let's just set our client back to be showing their photograph. So just going to go into the cog again on my #1 machine, click on pictures, show my picture, OK. As you can see, it's come back on this machine. Let's jump back onto #2, and it's there as well. So what we need to do now is we need to just go into our Lync front end. So this could be a front end or it could be a part of a pool. If it is part of a pool, you need to run this script and also schedule this script as part of each front end as well. So it's just worth that bit of information as well. So here we go. So let's just start off with this front end. So I've got a script here. So let me just talk you through this. So we can ignore that bit at the moment because I'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is the actual script in essence. So bit of a thanks out to the TechNet forums because this is something which has been quite a hot topic for a while now, and there's been a couple of guys who are Lync and SQL experts who's helped hash something together which has formed this script. So yeah, big thanks out to them. So let's just look at this. So we've got a function. So all this is just doing is calling an array and giving it the function a name. So the first thing on the script, it goes along. We've given it a name and enabled user photos. $domain, $offset is a couple of arrays which we're going to call later on in the script. This part of the script just going along is just looking at the pool, the compute, and the host name. So this is actually finding your front end. So for me, if I ran that within native Lync PowerShell or management shell, what that come back with is linkse.northernlink.local. But we call that because that's what the script needs to find out what the RTC local is associated with. So that's part of the script to start with there. A little bit further on, we've got our SQL. So this SQL is invoke SQL command query. It goes along, it's going to look for the database, which is our RTC local within the Lync SE, which it called within its parameter. It's looking for a table called public static instance. In this actual table, it's actually binary code. It's made of 4,000 characters long is the actual information in there, and it's not readable. It's not viewable to a user. But in fact, what we'll do is we'll just quickly jump into that, and I can actually show you what that actually looks like within the table. So I'm just going to jump into SQL Management Studio. Just move that over so you can see that. So while this is just loading up, yeah, it's kind of hex code. It's binary code, I should say. It's not, like I say, it's not readable to a person, and you have to do a bit of a convert to actually get the correct information out. So what we're going to do is, from my previous tests and labbing of this actual feature, I've already got my server name. So it's linkse.northernlink.local/RTC local, which is the actual local database within this server. We're going to go to databases, expand that. We're going to go to RTC, tables. Then we're looking for one which is publish static instance. Let's just click select that. A couple of ways you could have actually done this, but I'll just do this as a select star. Okay, so let's just write our SQL. Select star from, it's case sensitive as well. Oops. And let's just execute that. As you can see, it's got some information back as well. So a little bit in there, nothing of any interest as such, apart from a field called data. Here it is, and this is the binary code. So no matter how much I expand, 4,000 characters long. So what our script is doing, then I'll just scroll back over to the right. That's going to do a convert on that information and replace it with information of display AD photo false. So that in that code, that's what it's actually doing under the covers. So what we're saying is, at the moment, within that binary code, it'll say display AD photo false, and we're just telling it to replace with AD photo true, which is actually needed. Just moving a little bit further along the code, it also calls the server instance, which we've just been in, which is RTC local. So, and then the last little bit is the actual publishing. So the first bit is the function, the array, puts everything into array, and then boom, enables it back in. We've got this offset of 15 minutes, so this is interesting. So if you've got quite a big user base, running this will just go and interrogate every user every time it runs. So what we've done is set a little filter on the end of this command to say only go and look for people who's changed things within the last 15 minutes. So instead of it actually interrogating the full database and putting it into an array and then publishing it back, it's just going to look for a very, 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 I'm sure, small subset of people who's maybe made that change. The reason why I've said 15 minutes is because it will be a bit of server intensive doing this work, and we don't want it to cause any locks within the database while it's doing it as well. The scheduled task will be set to 15 minutes, so it'll run this every 15 minutes by default. So we should capture all the information what we need to, which will be great. And we're good to go. So let's just give it a bit of a scenario and a run through now without the scheduled task, just to make sure that it's working as we expect. So just going to close or minimize SQL. At this moment, we're going to go back to our number one machine. We're going to go to my photographs again, and I am going to hide it. So just hidden it. It's gone from our number one, jumping back to number two. It's gone from there. So at this moment, scenario is the user's selected to hide their photograph, and we want to force it to come back. So I'm just going to go to my front end, where we was before, and I'm just going to select the full command, copy it. I'm just going to go into native PowerShell as administrator. Here we are, and I'm just going to force it to run in. So just right hand clicked on that to actually push the actual command in. So that was it run. So once you get your prompt back, it's run. So interestingly, on Lync 01, sorry, our number one server, it's still not showing my photograph. The reason for that is that will go and find out what the status is on the next login. So unbeknown to the end user who's maybe hidden his or her photograph, they might be thinking, yeah, it's not showing, great, I've achieved what I wanted to do. But equally, if we go to Lync 02 and select the user who it might be, a bit of a rectification, as you can see, it's come back. So there you go. So that did produce the picture. If we now go back to our Lync 01, and I'm just going to right and click and exit Lync and go back into Lync, ignore the activation, you can see our picture's back. Goes back to the cog and it's set back to show my picture. Nice, easy stuff. So like I say, it's not foolproof, but equally I think it's a really good halfway measure to actually getting you to where you want to be. So what we'll do now is we'll do a bit of testing on this, and also what we'll do is we'll now schedule this actual command as a PS1 command within the front-end server. So okay, so now let's move on to actually scheduling the task and giving it a little test. So what we need to do is let's just very quickly recap. So we'll go into our Lync number one machine, just make sure photos showing. We're going to click back to hide. Okay, that disappeared off there, disappeared off our Lync number two machine. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into the SQL front end. So just to remind you again, if you've got this as a pool, you've got to run this and schedule this task on each of your front end servers for it to work successfully. I've also copied the actual command, the full command, out of my notepad, and saved it as forcephoto.ps1. So quite simple to do that, really. So that's it. So it's just a notepad, and then there's a PS1 file. I've right and clicked, I've copied it, I've then moved it to my C drive under temp, and it's there. So that's where I'm going to call it from as part of my scheduled task. Next thing we need to do is we just need to go into the menu and find the task scheduler. So I'm just going to type that as a bit of command, and here it is. We then need to go to create task, give it a name. So we're going to do force link photo. I'm going to tell it that I want it to run whether there's a user logged on or not. I'm also going to tell it I want to run it with the highest privileges. I'm going to change the configuration from for Windows 7 and 2008 R2. And I could put a bit of information there, but I'm not going to bother. The trigger for this is the next tab. So I'm going to tell it that I want to run this task. I want to run it every 15 minutes, as we discussed earlier, and I want to run it for a duration of indefinitely. So, okay that. So that's all we need to do on the trigger. The action, what I want it to do. So I do want it to start a program. Just jumped over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm firstly going to browse to this location here. So let me drop that down. So it's C Windows System 32 Windows PowerShell is the path I want to call. I'm going to go to version 1.0, and I'm also going to go down to find the PowerShell.exe. So that's what I want to call. But not only do I want to call the PowerShell.exe, I also want to tell it to do something else. So I want to call the PowerShell.exe, but I also want to say, while you're running the PowerShell.exe, run the forcephoto.powershell command as well. So to do that, we type in no logo dash command typed correctly, and then I'm going to call where I've put it. So I need squiggly brackets. Yep, squiggly brackets, and I'm going to say it's under C colon, and it's under my temp, and it's called force photo.ps1, and then we're going to give it another squiggly brackets, and we are done. So let's just OK that. It comes up with the message. It appears that your arguments have been included, blah 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 blah. So it's asking it, as well as the PowerShell command, do we want to run this other PS1 as well? So we're going to say yes to that. That's in there now. The conditions are nothing. We don't need to even be bothered about that. I'm going to keep the tick in the box to say we'll want to run this on demand as well, because I want to just run it to just show that it actually works. I'm going to change it to say that stop the task if it runs for more than an hour. That's by default, you know. We don't really want it to do anything else than that. And then we're just going to OK it. First thing it's going to come up with is pop in up for the higher privileged details. So OK that, and there we go. So that is our task. It's nothing major. You can see it's in here now. So as our client is now set to no photograph, what we're going to do is we're just going to go to my number 1 machine, but we're going to actually select to type an instant message to the number 2 machine. So we'll go into the user Victoria Smith, there's my wife, and we'll go test without photo, send that. Down there you can see there's no photograph. So we'll just jump back into our scheduler. We'll select it and we'll tell it to run. The last event was 12:58, so if we just do a refresh on that, you can see we instigated another one starting, it completed, task complete there. If we go test again with photo within here, let's actually just close that down actually. just again with photo. There you go. The picture's now back. So that really completes this actual overview. There's nothing really much else to say apart from we know our scheduled tasks running. I guess a couple of key takeaways to this is it is a bit of a hack, as we've mentioned previous. If you was going to suggest this is a solution to Microsoft, they'd probably frown at the point. But equally, if you have got a mandatory requirement at this very moment, and as far as I'm aware, working with Microsoft, there is no roadmap to actually make this an official feature in terms of being able to disable the ability to hide your photograph. So I hope it's been a benefit. Again, I will put the PowerShell commands and the schedule command up on the blog site. So please feel free to have a look, add any comments, send me any information you need. If you've got any problems, I'm more than happy to take a look for you and help you out. Thanks again. Also, it's probably just worth mentioning, in the next couple of days I'll be doing another couple of video guides. One is, as I did with a Ferrari gateway, I'm actually in the process of making another guide, which is for a Sonos SBC gateway, and showing you how to configure that to allow for E1 and SIP trunking into that. Also as well, another requirement I've got at the moment is another video guide is there might be a situation where you have to disable particular people from writing information into monitoring and archiving databases within the back end. Again, this is something which is missed within the Lync monitoring situation. So in an example, you might, for your company, have a requirement for a telephone number for maybe whistleblowing if you're working in like a financial sector, or anti-money laundering or something like that, and you might have the ability to call a telephone number to report somebody who you might think is whistleblowing. That information, as of today, if you had monitoring and archiving enabled, that would store that information, and somebody who's got ability to look at them reports would be able to see who's rang that whistleblowing number. So I'm going to write another script and schedule it in, which is a trigger on a SQL database, on the database at the back end for monitoring, and strip out them telephone numbers altogether so you can't see. So that's coming in the next couple of days, so please check back. Always happy to take any comments, like I say, and look forward to speaking again. Thank you very much.